Okay, it's recording.
Great. Hello, everyone, and welcome to this week's edition of Tipple's Brews and Wines virtual wine tasting. This is Elizabeth and Jeff Vaudreuil, the owners of Tipple's Brews and Wines in good old Gainesville, Florida. This week, we are going to be enjoying the Gloria Ferrer Carneros Pinot Noir, California. California Pinot Noir from the Carneros area. That is right at the bottom tip of Napa Valley and Sonoma Valley.
Oh yeah, you showed that last week.
Right. So we'll be talking about why it's a really special area for Pinot and Chardonnay. We'll talk a bit about that as we move forward. But the important thing is to get wine in our glasses to get started. So if you have not already, let's go ahead and pop open those bottles of wines and pour yourself a glass. My preferred serving temperature would be European cellar to start out with, so 55 to 60 degrees. Easiest way to achieve that is a 30-minute chill in the refrigerator before you pop it open. It will obviously warm up for us Floridians in our nice warm 70 some odd degree homes as we drink.
It has not been warm lately.
It has not. No, it's going to warm up a bit less than normal right now. All right. Beautiful, beautiful wine. Pairings for this guy. Oh, let's jump over to the slides, if you would, since I did all the work to create them.
You did.
Here we go. So here we are. Wine Enthusiast 90, Willy Wong 90 pointer. It's very consistent for these guys. They're always up in that range. Beautiful winemaker. Pairings for this Pinot Noir, which is kind of robust, so it can handle salmon, swordfish, duck, pork chops, roasted vegetables. It can handle it. Versatile wine. You can even go to lamb with this guy.
Yeah.
All Pinot Noir. Let's jump back.
Oh, really?
Yep.
Single varietal.
Yep.
Okay. There we go.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
14.5% on this. So.
Oh, wait, but is Jerry at 15.5?
You're right.
And Consuelo was higher too last week. They were both.
Yeah, that was the oddest thing.
The rest of us.
Got the right bottle this time.
That's right. And from when I looked at it earlier, it wasn't on the bottle, so I'm safe. But nice and kind of robust for a Pinot Noir, though from a really nice cool growth area in California. So let's take a smell and sip and see what we think here. So to me, that nice rich fruit, balanced with a nice earthiness right away. You know, it's right in there from the start. I could almost go a little bit of like a brambly, stemmy quality as well.
What is that? Ooh, there's a dryness after after you wait.
Right. Yeah. This is a it's a whole cluster fermentation, which means when they crush it, they've got the stems and such attached still.
Okay.
Which will give you a little bit of that nice green, stemmy bramble kind of thing going on.
Yeah.
There's some really nice, like on the nose, and especially, you know, we haven't had it open that long, but already it's opened up with a combination. To me, I like the combination of you're getting raspberry and blackberry. You know, you're getting cherry and black cherry. It's a combination of those nice darker and red on the fruit side.
Yeah, and this is one that we can see through. Like, was it last week that we couldn't see through it? I can't remember. Yeah. They blend together for me sometimes.
Right, and that would be normal for Pinot Noir.
Okay.
So Pinot Noir is going to be more of a medium-bodied red. One of its great attributes, which we'll kind of discuss later, but is its ability to express the terroir it comes from. Because it's a bit more of a delicate grape. It tells you a bit more about where it's from.
Okay.
When it's not overwhelmed by too much oak, which this one is absolutely not overwhelmed by too much oak. We're not dealing with a big vanilla bomb here. It's actually French oak.
Are there reds that are vanilla bombs?
Oh, absolutely.
Really? Okay.
Well, they're what?
I asked if there were reds that were like overwhelmed by vanilla because I don't feel like I've had one, but maybe it's because you don't give me the ones that, taste like that. So.
That would be how we could take a stroll through your average American grocery store and overwhelm you with reds that were vanilla bombs.
Okay.
Yes.
All
Yeah. So Jeff, before this started, I went on the web and looked up Gloria Ferrer to read about the winery, the history, the family, and what have you. And it mentioned that they have 2 primary terroirs.
Yes.
And one of them was volcanic.
Yes.
And is this from the volcanic?
This is from the volcanic.
It has that taste to it.
Right. It has that. So, which we'll get to as we talk about the vineyards later on. But you're exactly right. They break it up where they have a combination of a clay-based soil, and then they have a volcanic rocky-based soil, which is up on the ridge in the higher areas of their estate. The Pinot Noir is planted on the volcanic rocky side. Okay. Yeah. And then you have the Chardonnay, which they're famous for, is down in the kind of in the clay and sandy area. Yes, exactly right. So, what are you guys thinking here? What are you tasting as you work your way through this wine? I think it gives us a lot to discuss. I've thrown a lot of different flavor profiles out there.
I feel like it's even, this is probably wrong, but a little peppery on the backside.
No, spiciness is perfect. All right. Okay. So that's a really good observation. So when I talked about it is French oaked. So French oak is less aggressive than American oak in the barrel. So French oak tends to give you more spiciness. Whereas American oak gives you more vanilla. So a young American oak barrel is going to really work on the wine and really assert its presence. Whereas the French oak tends to enhance what's in there and add kind of a nice spicy quality and some roundness and that kind of a thing.
So you said young American oak that implies to me that the French is not young.
It can be.
Okay.
It can be as well. But even when young, it's not as aggressive as the American.
Okay. All right.
Yeah. They're just a very, there's differences in the way that oak is from where it's grown.
Okay.
All right. So let's jump over to the maps and see where this beauty comes from. I'm enjoying it quite a bit. I hope you guys are as well. I see lots of nods. A nod's as good of a wink as a wink to a blind bat. Hey, all right. I hope I don't have to pay for that. Put it on Monty Python quotes on YouTube.
I think it's old enough. It's just it's
public domain.
Yeah.
I hope so. All right.
A lot of people are watching these.
Yeah, no. It's usually just us. All right. Hey, I'm just going to start throwing pencils. Yes, please. All right. So here's my new U.S. wine regions map. So this week we are back over here, which is no surprise, over here to the North Coast. So here, this is the bay with San Fran, and we're up in the North Coast rather than Central Coast. Last time we visited California, we were down here in the Central Coast. Look at this large swath of winemaking. Well, I'm curious as to what they make, but not curious enough to travel there for it. I'm going to travel here. All right, so Central Coast. Last time we were actually drinking way down here in Happy Canyon.
Wow.
Yeah. We're jumping way up here to the North Coast. And here we have the Napa Sonoma area, San Francisco Bay. You can see it's right there. So we're heading north. And let's zoom in a bit. Here's San Francisco. So here's Carneros. This is where we're drinking from here. This side is the Napa, and the other side is Sonoma. So Carneros straddles both.
So, and Carneros, because I don't see I see Sonoma. Okay. Where's Napa on the map? I don't see it.
Oh, well, they're showing all the different subsections. This is all Napa.
Okay.
Look at if you're looking for the town, It's where you see wild horse, you see Carneros and wild horse. Then you see like an orangey reddy type area there.
Okay.
The town of Napa should be in there.
Okay.
Yeah.
So if you're saying like Napa Valley versus Sonoma Valley, Carneros is its own place, or it's categorized in one of those?
It's actually categorized in both.
Oh, okay.
And then a lot of people will there's kind of I'm seeing it more and more often where it used to be say, oh, it's Napa Carneros or Sonoma Carneros. And now a lot of people are just simply buying grapes or growing grapes in Carneros and owning multiple plots within to get them. Because right behind, you've got Napa here, you have Sonoma here, there's a ridge of mountains between. And so that's where this Pinot is coming, is from this ridged area in order to get a bit more of the volcanic soil that's been thrust up. Now, where's my stuff? In Carneros, so what we're seeing here, so you see how close this is to the bay. This is a very maritime influenced area of Napa and Sonoma. It is the coolest area. It receives the lowest amount of rainfall per year. It receives constant breezes and fog, not constant fog, but constant breezes and fog, every night, and then slowly receding during the day. So that coolness is really important to growing grapes there. So Pinot Noir and Chardonnay like cool growth. And so this is, interestingly, it's a little counterintuitive for most of us. This is the coolest area of Napa. It warms as it goes up. Calistoga is the warmest area of Napa.
Because of the proximity to the bay?
Yes, exactly. So Carneros here has a combination of proximity to the bay and close enough to the Pacific that it gets a bit of both effect.
Okay.
And so it is by far the coolest area.
Plus the elevation of the volcanic part.
Right, which ridges up right between the two. So we can jump in a little bit more where you can see here again. So within Carneros, you've got a couple of options. You've got a couple of these high points here, here, and here when you want to get to a bit more of the volcanic. And the valley floor is the clay, which then goes into really sand after that, which used to be covered by the bay as recently as 10 to 15,000 years ago. Oh. So it is the newest soil, in the center area here is some of the newest soil to grow on in all of California. Because it was just uncovered 10 to 15,000 years ago.
So would the saltiness, like from the ocean water, affect the soil at all?
Yes, it does. So when you're drinking their sparkling, and really Gloria Ferrer is known for sparkling, but their sparkling is made from Pinot and Chardonnay. So they are also making these beautiful single varietal, non-sparkling options. But you will taste that in a nice Gloria Ferrer sparkler. It'll really come out in the finish of their brew.
Do they have a sparkling rosé that they do from the Pinot, or is it both white?
Yes, they do. They have a rosé. They've got the Brut, which is the combination of Chardonnay and Pinot, and they have Blanc de Blanc, which would be all Chardonnay. That kind of. So like I was mentioning, cool climate. The fog is back, like we've had in New Zealand and up in Oregon and that type of thing. So the fog is back. In this case, more like, because this is the volcanic side of their earth, it's a little bit more like a combination of maritime with the Washingtonian. When we were drinking that Syrah, that was in a volcanic soiled area. The breeze that flows over these grapes slows ripening. So when you've got the fog and the breeze and it's cool, we talk about hang time with one of our recent wines. Yeah. What's important in this area for creating character is they have long hang time. So they have very slow ripening, but very consistent growing season. They only get 45 inches of rain during the entire growing season. So they control their own. They have to irrigate because the soil here is only 3 to 4 feet deep. So they can't do what they do over in Spain, where they allow the roots to go incredibly deep to get through the dry season. It's not an option here because 3 to 4 feet deep, they hit this clay area that's almost as hard as cement.
Oh, wow.
And the roots just have to spread out. So they do have to irrigate So they can control exactly how much water is getting in there. So that allows them the luxury, if you will, of allowing a long growing season without worrying about a late rain suddenly filling the grapes with water and
sure.
diluting all your good work.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So they, and then the breezes allow, so they've got a lot of character. And that character comes from these very finicky vines without them having a lot of risk in leaving it on the grape there long enough. Because of the coolness, they're not going to ripen fast anyway. I mean, a lot of grapes will not ripen here. And so you're not seeing a lot of Cabernet Sauvignon down in Carneros. Not that there's none, but it is not common. It's because it is so cool, they have a hard time ripening them. Here we have thin clay, top well joined with thin. But this one is, I actually tried to, anyway, I was working on the clay one, but honestly, I ended up getting one of the ridges, which was the picture is more what I wanted to say, because you can see the darkness here. That's not the clay. This is the volcanic darker soil.
Right.
Yeah, up on the ridges. So, which is what we're dealing with. These are obviously very young, newly planted vines here, but you can see the fog coming in both of the examples here. All right. So,
I mean, they're darker than I expected them to be. Yes.
yeah, the Pinot Noir grape itself.
Yeah.
So the name Pinot Noir comes from the French origin of that name is Pinot is pine. So they thought that these tight little clusters look like pine cones.
Oh.
So that's what it means, pine, and then noir is blanc. Black.
Okay.
So
black pine.
So black pine cones basically is what they named it after. It's mentioned in French literature in Burgundy as far back as the year 1375, but the name Pinot Noir grapes were definitely being used by the Romans when they expanded in there. So the Pinot Noir grape is about 1,000 years older than Cabernet Sauvignon.
Oh.
We've been drinking Pinot for a long, long time. It is one of the more expensive grapes because it's one of the more finicky grapes in order to get it to grow and grow well, especially.
Okay.
Prefer cool climates, like I mentioned, and with long growing seasons that allow them to stay on the vine as long as possible without storms and all kinds of things, which is a lot of what they're running into in France right now. Is they're getting a lot of storms and issues.
Oh, really?
And yeah, they're having a harder and harder time in France.
Huh.
They're excellent at expressing the terroir that they're grown in. They do a great job. The minerality is shown through the warmth levels or lack thereof, or shows through. So these are grapes that are very, very influenced by what is going on around them, and they do express that, which is one of the fun things about tasting Pinot Noir from around the world, because it tastes dramatically different depending on what they're working with. Top countries to produce Pinot Noir are France. United States is number 2.
Oh.
Who do you guys think is number 3?
Cool. Ooh, Chile?
Germany?
That's what I was going to guess. Germany.
That's cool.
Thoughts, Jerry, as a hint?
I'm not sure.
Yeah. Well, my hint was calling Jerry into the conversation because Chris was correct. It is Germany.
Awesome.
Yep.
That's what I was.
And in Germany, they call it what, Jerry?
Spätburgunder?
Yep, Spätburgunder. There you go. And it is, by the way, absolutely delicious. So I found a wonderful German Pinot Noir that we are going to be drinking soon. It is absolutely delicious.
Your comment about the grapes being really fickle and stuff like that and very expensive, is that sort of why there's that kind of like adage of like, it's not worth drinking Pinot if it's, under $20 or whatever it is? Because I've heard that often. It's like, oh, that's like a whatever Pinot, like, but once you hit that threshold is where you get to like, now you're actually drinking Pinot.
Yeah, I think you're totally right. There is I think there's often a big difference between cheaper wines and more expensive. And I'm not saying that you should never drink a casual wine. There's nothing wrong with that. But you're right, Chris. There is a bigger difference in Pinot Noir because a warm growth, quickly, ripened Pinot will taste almost nothing like a cool growth Pinot with all the character and expressiveness that it can have. They're very different.
So is it pretty much that $20 that he was talking about? Like you want to go above or?
Yeah, I think that's a good call. I think, because you can get some excellent examples of Pinot Noir for $24, and not that I don't have Pinot Noir in the store for $15, or even 12, but it does have a very different taste. It really is different until when you get here, these guys, some of the ones, some of the entry levels from Willamette and that kind of a thing. Those guys there's some that are even $24. Okay. So not bad at all, but, and they give you a sense of place. They do express themselves beautifully. Californias are always going to be, not always, but usually more intense, a little warmer growth. Even for this area being cool for California, a little different in expression from Oregonian, Willamette Pinot Noir. But it does become a lot more intense than this if you get up into Sonoma and that kind of a thing. Well, we had the Sonoma, we had the Garricky Pinot Noir, and that was a darker, richer Pinot Noir even than this. This has a lot going on, but it has this really nice structure and elegance to it as well. Pinot Noir is traditionally much lower in tannin than, say, Cabernet Sauvignon. I think we can tell that, lower than Cab, certainly lower than Tannat, the grape named for tannin. So, and this guy has some nice structure to it, has some fresh acidity. I wouldn't say that there's in no way does this taste like a dried fruit, right? These guys are fresh fruit, luscious and fresh, but it's not, I don't have a ton of tartness finishing up. If you get over to Burgundy in France, they'll even cooler. You would almost get a cranberry flavor until it opens up and relaxes a little bit. And I'm not getting a cranberry effect on this guy at all.
We kind of are.
I would say I am actually just now. I wasn't earlier, but as it's warmed up more, I am getting more of a cranberry tart taste.
Do you? Okay.
I am. You hear that tone? It's like, do you?
No. Look, that's fine. I just call it. I just think it's more raspberry.
Okay.
Yeah. I mean, that's fine.
It smelled sweet, and I was like, I was like digging for the fruit smell, and I was like, I smell cranberry. Like, is what?
No, that's cranberry. Look, it's got a red fruit quality, and it's got nice fresh acidity, so that's fine. I have no issue with that.
Yeah, I think it's a little tart, but Robin was saying the same thing, where she was like, it's tart, but in the tart the way that you eat, like a fresh raspberry or something else like that can be tart.
Yeah, I'd say there's a bit of a mocha quality coming out now on the nose that I didn't get in the beginning.
On the nose.
And then that mocha quality to me becomes a bit of an earthiness on the palate. Now, here's my description of the majority of Pinot Noirs that I'm tasting, right? They tend to run on the earthy, the terroir, quality. I get either dried leaves, like a nice crumbly dry leaf. I get wet leaves on a forest floor, or I get a mushroomy black earth quality. On that spectrum, which I often taste in Pinot Noir, I would put this guy in the middle.
The wet leaves.
Kind of a wet leaf forest floor. But you guys can jump in and tell me you think I'm crazy.
Definitely don't get the mushroomy.
No, I really, it's not that mushroomy, and that is a common thing, and it's fine if it is.
I like it. I mean, don't get me wrong. What I'm about to say is going to sound like I don't like it, but it tastes like a very normal wine to me. Like there's nothing spectacular about it. Like the flavors aren't changing. There's nothing that I'm like, oh, I get notes of this or that. It's just a solid, easy drinking red wine to me. I'm not getting anything spectacular out of it.
Right.
I think that's too like the not like last week when it's like that, the to not like okay, I get what you're saying because it's so bold and different when it's for us that aren't super tasters. It's like you're looking for it, and it's like little things that we're picking up, like yes, yes. Like when we match with you, we get so excited. Whereas like last week's are more obvious.
Oh yeah, well, I could see that. Well, and that's the thing about Pinot is not all about big, bold.
It's
like
more subtle.
its statement
Yes,
is in
definitely
its
subtle.
right.
Mhm.
Its
That's what makes
statement
it-
is made in the subtlety and beauty of it. It's yeah.
That's what makes it
Pinot
almost
Noir is
seem
about elegance and beauty.
ordinary.
Mm.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah,
The
it's
simplicity of the.
yeah, it is. It's an elegant and beautiful wine rather than a power puncher.
Mhm.
You know, and that's one of those things where a lot of people will peel off one way and the other with absolutely addicted to Pinot or as Pinot as their backup choice.
Mhm.
You know, because and that's okay. There's no wrong answer here. It just is what it is. But these guys are more elegant wines. They're elegant, and whereas the other guys can be a bit more power packed, and that's fun. I love those power punch wines too. But these guys have their place, and they, you know, I always love drinking the Pinots as well.
So it also depends like what you're eating it with as well. Because if you're
Absolutely.
having a Tannat with something, you know, like what did we say earlier? Salmon or lamb. And
Right.
it's just going to take it over.
Sure, you're going to
instead
be
of complementing it.
right. I mean, maybe some versions of lamb you could get away with, but you're right. I mean, the salmon, no way. You're going to taste the Tannat. You're not
Right.
going to taste the salmon.
Yeah.
That kind of a thing. So yeah, that's the thing as far as complimenting, and you're totally right. And duck and that kind of a thing. So
I took the first sip and was dealing with kids for the first few minutes and stuff. I kept having to get up and down, but I took the first sip and like walked away. I was like, I love it. He's like, oh boy. I really do. Even for somebody who likes the bigger, bolder, like, or what, you know, like a Pinot Noir, like I would revisit.
oh, excellent.
Oh, but what is like? I'm sure this probably scores in the 90s. Let's say, like what is the special quality of this wine? Like, what would you say the special quality to get it a score of 90 would be?
And this guy, it's the to me, which obviously we're jumping a bit ahead of the final description, but that's all right. That's cool. So the reason I would say it gets up to a special wine is the balance and the whole thing. So what I like about it is it has some of the bigger, darker fruit, which is a Californian warmer growth effect. In this case, not warmer growth, it's because of the long hang time, but it has that, it retains a terroir expression. So you get an earthy quality in there. It's not taken over by the barrel. But then it has a little spicy quality made, you know, so then that is the hand of the winemaker right there from the usage of the barrel.
Okay.
So because of all those things, making it something that is a little bit toward the robust side of Pinot Noir, but retaining very much the essential qualities of not being overwhelmed by the barrel and such of what Pinot Noir should be, with expressing the minerality and such in its environment. I think that balance makes it that's where it stands out.
Yeah, Jeff, coming from a lot of things you said, and for you too, Julie and
Right.
your husband, I think it's because it comes from a really good grape. I mean, all good foods come from good beginnings. And this particular Pinot Noir, this grape, the terroir it comes from, is just perfect for this Pinot Noir. It's a good grape. And so they have treated it correctly and come out with a very good wine.
Yeah, I agree. Thanks, Pat. Yeah, absolutely. They have great clones there, which we'll talk a bit about the different clones they have, but they brought them right over from Burgundy. And this area is a very special area in the world for growing Pinot Noir and Chardonnay. And I think that they make some beautiful wines. And to me, you've got Burgundian quality wine here at an exceptionally good price. You're not paying $85 a bottle for this guy. And because anyway, there's a lot of Burgundian that when you're kind of intro Burgundian, you can get some stuff that's a little overly lean, and it becomes not unpleasant in any way, but it can lack robustness.
Okay.
You know, and you get there and it's kind of a one shot. It's like, wow, this is red sherry and cranberry, and I can see right through it, and there's not much else I can say about this wine. Whereas, you know, and that would be at this price point, you know, because they're so much more expensive from Burgundy. And whereas for this price point, you're getting so much more than that. And so that's that aspect that we talk about with rating wines, where you can look at it from a little bit of the larger perspective and compare it to really well-made Pinot Noirs throughout the world and say, oh, well, here we have a guy that's, you know, in the 30s and it drinks more like something in the 65 range over here. So that helps bump it up a little bit, that kind of a thing.
I think too, with as far as like it tasting more subtle, we have had several weeks of cabs and tannats. And so it's just a much more subtle grape.
Right.
It is. So like, but with the ratings, we're comparing it to other Pinots.
Right.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah. And
So this grape, if you had a $15 or less watered down white Coke Pinot. And when I was first starting to drink wine, you know, we didn't know all the names even of the grapes, much less any labels. So you go to a bar and order a Pinot, and it's kind of like, wow, they have 50% wine and 50% water here.
Right. Yeah, I will say a bad Pinot is one of the worst wines. Like,
really?
Like, because like if you get like a bad cab, you're like, oh, that's kind of flabby and fruity. But a bad Pinot is just bad. You know, it's just, because it's such a beautiful wine, but it does take finesse. And if they just hammer it out there and throw it out there and just throw the name Pinot Noir on there, it can be a very unpleasant experience. It really can be. This is
So because of the finickiness of grape and the grapevine.
Yes. Yeah, absolutely. Because of the finickiness of the grapevine. So if you can start with bad grapes and then treat them poorly, and you know, it just goes downhill from there. So, let's jump over to a bit more on the maps.
This is it, right?
Yep, that's it.
Yeah.
All right. So on to more info about the Pinot Noir. All right. So here we have a grape that is traditionally, it is a red, but it has a thinner skin. It's a more delicate grape. Now, because of the breeze, these guys have a little thicker skins than some of the Pinots that you might drink from around the world, which gives it a little bit more intense color and a little bit more of those darker fruits. So a really thin skinned Pinot will be all red fruit. But this guy obviously has some nice darker fruits, a little black cherry, a little blackberry, in addition to that raspberry. So, but the things that keep it fresh and moving along is that this grape also tends to have a significant amount of acidity from the center of the grape, no matter what you're doing. So it has a bit more intensity naturally in the acidic zone. And then like a little thinner of the skin. So if you're, depending on how you treat it, you can make this grape taste very, very different. And you can all the way to, I mean, I've had Pinot Noir that was thin-skinned, highly acidic. It tasted like a raspberry. It tasted like a cranberry, watered down, and it was very unpleasant.
We don't have that in the store, right?
No, not so much as you know. No, we don't. However, I have also had, because this is potentially volatile. I don't. This particular one is not as volatile on the grape, but I've had some Willamette Pinot Noir that when I opened it up, we were going to have it for a tasting that night. It was the first year we owned the store.
Okay.
And in that case, I had not had that one wine yet. I won't say the name.
No,
but
don't.
When I opened it up, I thought, well, this is linear, uninteresting, just tart. Why am I serving this at this tasting? What is going on? 2 hours later, it's one of my favorite wines ever.
It just
So
needed
it
to
was
open?
volatile. It opened up and it
Okay.
was incredible. And that is very common with Burgundian wines as
Okay.
well. Now, this guy kind of a little bit true to form with a lot of Californians, where many Californian productions are kind of ready to go right out of the bottle,
Okay.
you know, where you don't have as much of a change. We have had subtle changes, but not dramatic changes on this wine
Right.
tonight, compared to, say, when we were all drinking the Bordeaux Cru Bourgeois.
So that's typical of French wines that they have to open
Yes.
longer.
Oh, yeah,
Okay.
very much. Which is a stylistic thing. Californians tend to be made with, you know, hey, pop it open. You don't necessarily have to drink it with food. You don't necessarily have to give it 2 hours to open. It's something to enjoy.
Okay.
And this is a bit more on that side.
Is that catering to the American palate then? Just because, I mean, I'm just thinking like what I've heard of Europeans, they take longer to eat, like they're enjoying their foods more. So they're, you know.
Yeah,
like,
that makes sense.
We're not
Yeah.
they're not getting in and out of a restaurant like we do.
Right.
So.
Yeah, right. When dinner takes 4 hours, you behave differently because you have an
Right.
aperitif. The
Right.
wine's already open. You open it up 2 hours. You know, I mean, you drink it 2 hours after it's opened,
That's,
and which sounds delightful.
No, it does.
But yes, I do agree with that. I think that
If
it
only
is
we all
more.
had time for
It
that.
is more
that'd be
for
great.
the new world palate,
Okay.
Yeah.
So
not just American.
what makes the difference though between something that, like, if you're the winemaker,
hmm
what are you doing to make it so that it's just ready to go, as opposed to something that needs to open, which you've said in the past, something that needs to, like, something that evolves more is something that you would age or you could age.
Right. Right.
So.
It has a combination of factors. It's, you know, many factors.
Mhm.
Ripeness of the grapes when you put them in there,
Mhm.
the quality of that grape, in the form of, there are some very high quality grapes that are going to start out really rough and need to relax over time, rather than growing them in that, you know, growing to something a little more friendly manner ahead of time.
Mhm.
And then it comes down to partially, then it goes into cooperage and such, and how long do you keep it,
Okay.
you know, on stainless versus how long are you keeping it on oak, and which oak are you keeping it on before you then put it into the bottle and then let it relax even more.
This
So
may be a stupid question, but do they like aerate stuff? Like, do they, you know, like slosh it around and stuff or whatever, you know, to, or not? Or
yes,
that has nothing to
actually,
do with
no,
it?
no, that's actually
okay.
an important part. No, it's so it's called racking.
Okay.
All right. So when you take wine and you let it sit for a certain amount of time, and then it's been sitting on it, like a bunch of materials fall out, the lees,
Okay.
and then you move it over to a fresh
Mhm.
location. So it can be a fresh stainless steel location. It could be it could be a tank. It could be a barrel, that kind of a thing. But racking is multiple racking
Mhm.
within wine is very common.
Okay.
And that is a thing. And it does very much affect what you're doing and what your intention is with that wine. So I'm finding now that I've been playing around with some of my fermentations and using a little bit of wine yeast, that racking is incredibly important.
Yeah.
Because wine yeast can make a lot of sulfur. All right, but it goes away.
Yeah, that's with the beers that we're not making wine.
No, actually ciders for that one. Yeah.
There's some muscadine in the backyard.
Yeah.
I've just been-
That sweet Floridian wine.
Yeah.
It's going to be a worldwide phenomenon.
Should I go on to the next or we
Please.
stop? Okay.
No, let's go ahead. Okay, so the winemakers. So
Yeah.
Gloria,
I'm going to put her away.
Hey.
thank you. Gloria Ferrer is the name of the winery. We are looking at Gloria Ferrer right there. So Jose and Gloria Ferrer, this was the first sparkling winery in Carneros in California. It was established, so Jose and Gloria, Jose was the president of Frejunet, I always forget to throw the T on there. So Frejunet, which actually, I think I meant to put that name in there so you guys would recognize the name of the, maybe we'll type it into the chat box.
Okay.
Because you've all seen this sparkling. It's a Spanish sparkling wine, Frejunet. Freixenet. So you might not have pronounced it as Freixenet, but anyway, that is the one. So the Freixenet Cava, because it was Spanish sparkling empire, decided to move into California in the 1980s. And Jose decided to name it after his wife Gloria, so it is Gloria Ferrer as the property. Let's move on to. It is a beautiful destination. Everything here is night harvested and hand harvested.
Why does the night harvesting make?
Good question. In order to keep all the grapes cool all the way through being crushed. They don't want that heat of the sun beating down on them without the protection of the leaves.
Okay.
Yeah. So night harvested, hand harvested, and this place is certified sustainable. So that
that's
deals
neat.
with the soil health, water conservation, support of native biodiversity and biodiversity within their own plantings. They used 17 different Pinot Noir clones in order to shake it up, and energy conservation. And you can see what a beautiful location this
gorgeous.
is. Absolutely gorgeous.
So where the barrels are, it actually reminds me of like a European,
Yeah,
like
they
catacombs or something.
they actually age them in caves like they
really
do over in
cool.
Europe. And watch this. It is also a wedding destination.
Oh, that's so cool.
Oh, isn't that amazing?
Yeah.
Yeah. So can you imagine dining in that beautiful
Yeah.
wine cave? That is awesome. So, all right, here we are. So on the rating system, I feel like, essentially a 90-ish pointer makes total sense to me. What are you guys feeling?
I think I agree. Like, I'm really hit or miss when it comes to for some reason, and it's a grape that I've like really tried to make a concerted effort to get like into because of all the reasons you listed, and every time I'm like, I don't know, but this one I really like, and like I don't like it doesn't like blow me away in any specific thing. I just really like it. So I'm like, okay, yeah, you want to tell me it's a really, really good Pinot Noir, but it's not, just out, a strong, astronomical, 90, 91, somewhere in that range seems about right.
Mm-hmm. Good.
Yeah, for me, Pinot is not my favorite red, and I've had several lately that I just outright do not like. I like this one. So
all right, there we go.
When I drank it, because as soon as I saw that it was a Pinot last week, I was like, oh no. But I actually like this one. So and
I knew it could be
I've
done.
had like 3 lately that I just outright would not drink. So
That is true.
Okay, so Elizabeth, after Cab, what's your favorite?
I really like the Tannat. So probably, Cab, and then,
red blends probably.
Oh, that's true. Red blends, and I like Shiraz and Syrah
Yeah.
a lot
Oh,
too.
interesting.
Yeah. Big reds.
Yeah. Big reds.
But you like this wine.
I
That's
do.
my thing.
I do. And I was really expecting to have to do some acting this evening, but
But and it's funny because and then there are people that when they are Pinot drinkers, they are locked in.
Really?
I mean, it is not, we're kind of misrepresented here without any major Pinot fans. Because it is very common. A lot of people are just all about
you need a
Pinot
larger
Noir.
sample size.
Right, a
to
larger
go
sample
there.
size, and they there would be, we'd have more people in there. But like and tell you, well, Jake at the store,
Oh, that's his
huge
favorite.
Pinot fan. Gosh, he loves Pinot.
Yeah.
So.
It is absolutely not surprising. Before, like when we asked him like, oh, what would he recommend to, like pairing, like food pairings and stuff like that. And it's like while we were sitting down tonight, I was like, I wonder if this is a Jake wine. On one hand, I think a Jake wine would be very like old world Frenchy type.
Yeah.
I'm like, but a Pinot and this he had a very specific, like, you should be eating, you should be preparing this. I'm like,
Right.
this seems like a Jake wine.
Yeah. Yeah. No, this guy is this is one of my favorite Pinots. I like that kind of mocha cherry thing going on in there. That nice earthiness. So for me, when I want something with duck or something like that, yeah, I want to grab one of these guys right here. Yeah, so that one's good. When you get to that, you get guys with the white and green peppercorn and maybe a little fig leaf, i.e. cat pea kind of flavor. And those things happen in old world wines. And yeah, Jake is all about old world for sure. But he's kind of great at his sub selection of my selections in the store, and that, like, he'll grab his and like, I love this wine. I'm like, well, yeah, you're the second person to love that wine because I brought it in the store. All right. Great. Let's go back to the slides. We'll finish up with these guys. We'll have a toast.
Okay.
I'm glad that overall, though, everyone's really enjoyed this. I think it's a beautiful,
nice wine.
Yeah,
yeah,
it is. And I really like, and I've said this before, but through the tastings, how it forces me to expand my palate. Because otherwise I would not venture out of my comfort zone.
Right. So see, you found something. You're like, hey, this is delicious. And it is. It's
it
absolutely
is.
delicious.
And actually, I would love to have it with some duck.
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
That curry duck at Volcanic.
Oh,
Yeah, I never took into account that balance would be like a special quality of wine. I mean, maybe I don't drink enough Pinots to say, but I mean, like, it is very well balanced and easy to drink, which is a special quality. So yeah. I like it.
There you go. I'm glad.
One of the nice things about Pinot is if several people are going to dinner together and they're all eating different things, they can share a bottle of Pinot because it's a red wine that isn't too big. It's not too small. It just fits with just about anything you wish to eat. At least if it's a good Pinot.
Yeah.
Right.
That makes sense because of that balance and the versatility that you were talking about earlier. She's right that if you all are going to share a bottle, this is a great wine to get. A Pinot is a great wine to go with, as opposed to going with something white or a big bold red.
Sure. Absolutely. I mean, think about you could be at a table with people that were having everything from fish to lamb, and it would work with all of it. So that's the beauty of Pinot. Yeah. Along with it, the fact
Lean
that
steak too.
Yeah. Yeah. You could definitely. You could do a lean steak
Like
with
a
this
filet?
one, and there are other Pinots that are a little more robust that you.
Yeah, more robust one.
Yeah. Yeah, because there are some Pinots that even have even more tannin.
Okay.
The Pinot Noir grape is a little hard to pin down because it can express in so many different ways. I mean, there are much more tannic Pinots.
Because of expressing the terroir?
Yes, and the warmth in which they're grown versus the coolness in which they're grown and that kind of a thing, depending how much wind and that kind of. So the Pinot Noir grape, like I said before, is it's an expression of how it's grown, where it's grown. And so how you treat it really changes the grape. It is a chameleon. And that's one of the most fun things about Pinot Noir.
So if you're ordering a Pinot at a restaurant, or if you're coming, to a store, you really need to, you can't just say, oh, it's a Pinot, I know what that tastes like.
Honestly,
you have to ask who,
where's it from?
Advice,
that is, and I do hate to throw like a caveat on ordering Pinot because I think people should, but it is a good point that you make an excellent point in that. Yeah, you should know a little bit more on your Pinot because if you just order, just give me your house Pinot, you're going to be all over the map because of, and to me, that's the beauty of Pinot in that it can't just be this universal creation. I think that's fantastic about it. But yes, you're right. Just give me a Pinot. It's not, it could be all over the place with what you're tasting. So
yeah, I loved that because I don't have all the good wine words And when Jerry said like watered down, I felt like it gave everybody else permission to use the term watered down. But that's typically how I feel about Pinot. Like if I can see through it, I don't want to drink it. And this one, I genuinely enjoyed it. I mean, I think I said that earlier. Like I took my first sip and looked at Brian and was like, I really like this. Like, and then the more I drank it, we actually did for the first time, we opened it almost 30 minutes before the tasting and aerated it. So it hasn't changed at all for us, and I don't know if it's supposed to, but it's like, it's just been solid and consistent where every time I'm like, I like this. And we did a charcuterie board tonight. Well, we do a charcuterie board every week. But this week we actually had like some spicier stuff on it, like spicy mustard, spicy cheese, like a cheese with jalapenos in it. But then we also have like figs and sweeter stuff and honey on the charcuterie board. And it definitely like complemented the different flavors in different ways as we like ate through the charcuterie board. So it was neat. Like it was just like, this is just a good wine. Like it's just good.
Yeah.
Julia, I have a question about that. So we had pork tenderloin with a like fig balsamic reduction. Do you think that the wine tasted at all like figs? Because I thought it did a little bit, but I wasn't sure if that was just the sauce, and Chris didn't think it did.
So that's funny because I didn't eat my fig until later, which is atypical of me because I love figs. But we also had like spicy cheese that I was like, ooh, I want to try this, and the spicy mustard. And so I was eating that first. And so I don't know if it's because I was eating spicy first, and then it was with the wine, I was like, ooh, like it makes me want to try the fig with it. Like, because I kind of taste that. And I was like, am I tasting it because I'm eating it, or am I wanting something sweeter because I don't have a sweet tooth. Like I could never have a piece of chocolate again the rest of my life and not care at all. But
I'm the same way. Yeah.
Give me all the chips and salsa and pretzels and mustard and that kind of thing. And so like, okay, like eating this spicy, it's like bringing out almost the sweet in the wine to make me want sweet. And so then I went to the fig and I was like, yes. So that's funny that you say that.
Nice. Well, that's fantastic. And that was a fantastic pairing, by the way, Chris and Robin. You guys.
It was Jake's recommendation, which is what he recommended tenderloin with a he said cherry balsamic sauce, but we did not have that. So
Big balsamic will have to do it.
That's right. That'll have to do it. That's great. Really
Every week I want to go eat at Chris and Robin's house.
Yeah, right. That's right.
One day we'll
Good at cooking, we're good at like combining things already made.
Yes. Yes. You want me to share?
Yep. Let's jump back.
Okay.
We'll finish up.
Look at Jeff's.
But Jeff, it might be fun sometime. We could take a vote on bumping up to a low end Willamette Valley Pinot. And this is a great one here, but it go up another $20. It's almost like apples and oranges.
Oh yeah, it's a very
but
different
it is.
experience. Yeah.
That's the kind of turn blue after a day of tasting.
Oh, for sure. Well, and what I thought I'd do, because we talked about this going into the new year, was maybe once a quarter we jump up to something really special. And then the other ones are like, obviously this is a beautiful wine. There's nothing wrong with this. But like once a quarter or jump up to something really, like say, hey, try this, and experience it. So I think that's a great idea, Jerry, for one of those jump ups is to get really a beautiful Willamette and you experience that, because honestly, I think the Willamette Valley is arguably, obviously, but the best area in the world for Pinot Noir.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. Yeah.
So-
and the Burgundians would not be happy with me, but
Maybe we could do that the week of Jack's birthday. So it'd be like the week of March 17th.
perhaps.
That'd be in the first quarter.
Yeah,
And that's like a week before my birthday, so it's perfect.
that's good. We are doing a double tasting again on Mardi Gras Tuesday,
Ooh.
by the way.
Which is Mardi Gras Tuesday? I don't remember.
This the tasting, not next one, but the next one.
Okay.
So that's the 16th.
Okay.
Thank you, Jeff.
Thank you, Paul, for the suggestion. But I found wines for us, and they're going to be super fun. It's going to be great. It's perfect, I think.
Okay.
You get a hint?
I declare it to be so. So
Yeah, Julie asked for a hint.
maybe in the after hours.
Yeah.
That's it. All right, let's jump over and finish up, everybody, and then we
Okay.
can talk. All right, so, all right, on the map. So here we are pretty much right in the middle. of everything. So that kind of makes sense that it works beautifully, especially. But I think it's kind of fun that we're drinking a Pinot with a maritime influence in California, which gives this a really beautiful quality, as opposed to something a little warmer growth. It's pushing it a little toward what we get up in Willamette, but as Jerry pointed out, it is not exactly the same. The Willamette ones are going to be closer to Burgundian. I just love this, that, I figured we'll share it a couple weeks in a row, which is wine producers. So we have, France makes a ton of wine. Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
France, Italy, Spain, and then the US. It really kind of puts things in perspective. By the way, they can see it right.
Grab them.
Does
Yeah.
he make them
Yeah,
do?
they can see Germany's number 3 in Pinot Noir production, but you see how low they are in overall production.
Right.
So they make, as a percentage of their own production,
A
lot of Pinot Noir that nobody gives them credit for.
Yes.
So we will endeavor to give them credit for a nice, beautiful Pinot Noir in the near future.
Okay.
Next week's wine, we're going to Argentina.
I like Argentina.
Bueno.
Bodega Norton Privada Red Blend. This is a shockingly Malbec dominant from Argentina. What?
Ooh.
Malbec dominant,
good.
but it is a Bordeaux red blend. So Malbec cab.
I see you put your
Well, I think
favorite
I've had that before.
cheeseburger.
Blue cheeseburger. Oh yes.
Viva.
Beautiful wine.
Norton.
Big, robust. It's Elizabeth and Julie special. But it is one of my favorites. This guy is an incredible price for something that hits 93, 94, 95 points regularly.
Oh, wow.
And it's really hard to break through up into that upper echelon. You guys all enjoy this very much. And then we will move on to something that is not red after that. But so blue cheese lamb chops, sausage, mushroom stuffed peppers. That I thought sounded pretty awesome.
That does sound good.
So that is what we are drinking next week, if my wine rep sends me more wine tomorrow.
It's all hit and miss during
Honestly,
COVID.
I'm a little worried about this one, but we will drink something delicious. And if I have to call an audible, then I will. And that's only appropriate because the Super Bowl is coming up.
That's true. Stop.
Yep.
Okay.
All right. That's the show tonight,
Oh,
folks.
wait. Any last comments before we wrap up the show?
That's all I was left.
That's right.
Okay.
All right. Thank you all for joining us tonight. We're going to see you next week.
Cheers, everyone.
Merci.
Clink, clink, clink.
Glad you enjoyed it. A beautiful wine. Makes me happy.
Definitely.